Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where you give us your sources, data, frameworks, or in this case, a single powerful piece of art, and we give you the clearest insights we can.
And our mission today is, I think, pretty special. The source is the poem, The Fleecer, My Skin Tone and My Peace, by Bill F. Endy.
Right. And it's not just the poem. The request that came with it was for a full scholarly analysis across, 11 different academic fields?
Exactly, 11.
Oh.
So this isn't just about reading a poem. It's about exploring oppression, resilience. All of it through this massive analytical lens, politics, philosophy, psychology, you name it.
It's a huge challenge. How can one short poem possibly bear the weight of all that? So our goal today is to dive into that very question, to see how this commentary on exploitation and deception really can be, a universe of academic inquiry in just a few stanzas.
Let's start right at the beginning then. The poem establishes its core conflict immediately. It doesn't, ease you in. It's a direct political challenge from the very first line.
Absolutely. The opening is just so confrontational. It says, frame your blame of that which is wrong on black. It's setting the stage right away. This is about scapegoating. It's about false narratives.
And what I find so fascinating is how quickly the poet reclaims the language of that blame. Right after that line, he writes, "Forgetting the darkness of night brings rest, and sends every fowl and bird to their nest."
That is such a brilliant move. He's drawing a line between the literal natural darkness, which is peaceful, restorative,
Right.
and the figurative blackness that the oppressor, the fleecer, has weaponized. He's
Yeah.
rejecting the entire premise of that racialized negativity from the get-go.
Exactly. And from challenging that narrative, the poem moves straight into the physical action behind it all.
Yeah.
The unjust acquisition, the exploitation.
The fleecer isn't just an idea. They're a thief.
A thief, yes.
Right.
The poem gets very blunt about the economics of it.
Yeah.
When you make your fame through pride, to ransack, and harvest from our farms where you sowed not.
That line, harvest where you sowed not, just perfectly captures it. It's resource theft. It's building your own fame, your own pride, not on what you create, but purely on what you can take.
It's the blueprint for colonization, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
economic fraud on a massive scale. The fleecer gets global renown, their fame, by systematically stealing from people where they had zero investment.
And the poem makes it clear the impact isn't just economic, it's cultural. The fleecer turns our lore that feasted with peace into a state of conflict. So it's not just about taking stuff, it's about deliberately shattering a peaceful heritage.
That's the key. The destabilization of lore, of culture, is what makes the next stage of exploitation possible. You fracture the society first.
Which brings us to that next stage. The focus shifts to how this exploitation hurts the oppressed group from within. The external theft creates this internal self-destruction.
Yes, the poem says the people are manipulated to fight ourselves for fleece.
So the colonizer takes the best resources, the fleece, and then uses that scarcity to create division back in the community. It's a classic strategy.
It's divide and conquer. The focus is no longer on the real thief. It's on fighting your neighbor for the scraps that are left. The stolen wealth itself becomes the weapon.
And the poem has a judgment on that wealth. It calls it a pasquis that spells rot. So no matter how much material profit you get from this, it's poisoned. It carries kind of moral decay.
Which leads right into the methods of continued oppression.
Mm-hmm.
It's all built on deceit and, frankly, hypocrisy. The poem says the people are kept in shackles under the guise of darkness.
There's that word again, darkness. First it was peace, now it's a guise. It's the ultimate linguistic trap. The very thing that symbolized rest is now used as a camouflage to hide the shackles.
And the moral camouflage is maybe the most biting critique in the whole poem. The fleecer covers their cruel heartlessness when you, with a sleight of hand, turn to a cross.
Wow. So using religion, ethics, this idea of a civilizing mission?
Exactly. Using all of that as a mask for what is actually just colonizing and pillaging my kind. The poem just lays the hypocrisy bare.
But it doesn't end there. The poem refuses to let the story be one of just tragedy or victimization. It pivots so powerfully at the end.
It does. It pivots to the psychological outcome. Yet with the pain they post, strength redefined.
Strength redefined. That's the core of it, isn't it? Despite everything, the theft, the pain, the lies, the people aren't broken. They actively forge a new identity, a new kind of strength out of that very trauma.
It's the ultimate act of resilience. The oppression failed to define them.
Incredible. Okay, now we have to get to the most intellectually demanding part of this deep dive, the 11 lenses. This is where the source material forces us to stop treating this as just literature and start looking at the entire system the Fleecer creates.
We can group them to make it a bit more manageable. Let's start with the big structures of power: politics, sociology, and international relations.
Okay, so politics. To me, the poem is commenting on the very origin of corrupt political systems. The first political act is the framing of blame to seize and maintain control. It's saying the whole government is founded on a lie.
And that corrupt political foundation then spills into sociology, right? It
Yeah.
affects group relations. The goal is to destroy social cohesion so completely that the group fights itself for fleece.
So you can't have collective resistance because the social fabric itself has been turned into a battleground.
Precisely. Which then brings us to international relations. The poem is explicit with colonizing and tillaging. We have to look at this through the lens of global power dynamics, where some nations built their wealth by exploiting others. The poem is both a historical record and a modern commentary.
Okay, that's the first group. Let's move to the next one, which gets, well, a lot more abstract. We're talking about the nature of being, philosophy, metaphysics, and ontology.
It does get deeper here. With philosophy, it's really about moral justification. The poem asks, how can you claim fame and pride from an action that you know causes rot? It exposes the Fleecer's philosophy as morally bankrupt.
And ontology, that's the study of being, of existence itself. This is central to the identity crisis that oppression creates.
Yes, the group's very being is under attack. They're being defined by the oppressor as blamed, as shackled.
So that final line, post-strength redefined, is actually, it's an ontological statement. It's a declaration.
It is. It's the oppressed group claiming the right to define their own existence. It's a victory over an imposed identity, over being defined by someone else.
And what about metaphysics? I mean, how does that fit in?
This is where the poem uses concepts beyond the physical. The whole contradiction around the word darkness is a metaphysical argument.
I see. He establishes the inherent natural truth of darkness as rest.
To fight against the Fleecer's constructed, deceptive darkness, the guise, the oppression is framed as a kind of inversion of natural metaphysical truth. It's a distortion of reality itself.
That makes sense. The Fleecer inverts reality with language, and the poet uses poetry to restore it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move to our third group. Knowledge, deception, and the mind. This covers epistemology, agnotology, and psychology. This is really the battle for truth.
It is. Epistemology is the study of knowledge, how we know what we know. The poem confronts the Fleecer's entire knowledge system by saying, you lie badly. It's not just one lie, it's that their whole justification for power is built on false knowledge.
And this connects to a really specific and I think very relevant concept, agnotology. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Agnotology is the study of the deliberate, strategic creation of ignorance or doubt. It's not just that people don't know something. It's that someone is actively working to create confusion.
And the Fleecer is a master of this.
A master. Framing blame, operating under the guise of darkness, using the cross to create a moral smokescreen. The goal is to make the oppressed doubt their own history, their own sense of justice. It's strategic ignorance as a tool of power.
Which has a huge psychological impact, and that brings us to psychology. The poem is so clear about the pain of it all, but then there's that transformation.
Right. It charts the psychological journey from trauma to strength redefined. It's a rejection of learned helplessness. The strength comes not from just surviving the pain, but from using that pain as the very thing that forges a stronger, self-defined identity.
Okay, our final group. This one is about the art itself, aesthetics, lexicosemantics, and literary history.
With aesthetics, the beauty of the poem is in its construction. The images are so sharp and powerful. The irony of fleece bringing rot, or the cross hiding cruel heartlessness. That artistic tension is what makes the critique so powerful.
The word choice is doing so much of the work. That's lexicosemantics, right? How words are layered with meaning.
It is. Think about the word fleece. It's wool, so it's wealth. But to fleece someone is to swindle them. The poet uses that dual meaning to show that for the oppressor, wealth is theft. They are one and the same.
We see the same thing with darkness. It's used 3 different ways: natural peace, then a negative identity, then a disguise. The poet is weaponizing the language.
He is. And finally, you have to place this work in its literary history. This poem is part of a long global tradition of resistance literature, of voices documenting colonization and its aftermath.
It connects a specific story to a global conversation about decolonization that's been going on for centuries.
Exactly. It gives historical weight to the struggle.
So we started with one poem, and we've ended up deep in political economy, ontology, and psychology. It's clear that this poem by Bill F. Endy is this incredibly compact critique of oppression, but more importantly, it's about that resilient refusal to be defined by pain.
And I think the sheer depth of analysis this poem demands shows you something crucial. These issues of colonization and identity, they're not just simple historical events. They require this huge multidisciplinary understanding of everything from the human mind to global economics.
For sure. And since we spent some time on agnotology, that strategic creation of ignorance, we want to leave you with a final thought on that.
The fleecer's tactic of framing blame, of creating confusion, well, it doesn't just stop when the physical pillaging is over.
So think about the historical narratives you consume today, the knowledge we are allowed to access about global conflicts. How much of that is still being shaped by those who benefited from the original injustice? If those tactics of strategic ignorance aren't challenged, the darkness the fleecer created can still obscure the truth even decades later. Keep questioning the stories you're told.